Okay, in the last session, we have seen how we can work with web services only for exposing web services. So now we'll see how we can consume those web services. So far, we just consume the for consuming the web services. We have used Postman or SOAP UI. We have used it, but we'll try to use Boomi. Or have two options. Is there one? We will go this one. Right. Okay, as I mentioned here, right? So if you open, I wanted to show you something like REST terminology, REST APIs terminology, URL, how this REST API is a URL, something like this. Or maybe even I'll show you a simple word data. So yesterday we have seen only the only what we have seen is query parameters. Okay, so generally that query parameters is used for plain services, but when it comes to a REST API, right? Something like you can see here, REST API requesting data, requesting entity set. You can just consider remove the entity in the sense in the word data. They'll call it as entity. But if you call it as an operation in the web services, so web services in the general, we'll call it as an object something. Okay, in Java. So if you see, right, if you see like try if you this URL, we are calling the get and HTTPS. This is a host name. This is a request URL. Here, when you see last one in the sense, you are going to get the people information. Okay, if you see requesting single entity by name, something is that. If you see, these are the kind of way to specify the filtering criteria, or even you can see there is one more raw data. You can even write some kind of a filtering criteria as well, but not that one. I wanted to show you something. Alright. So there is a called path parameters. Even the path parameters also you can specify with that. Okay. You can see that the reference resource. So basically the REST API will call it as a resource. In OData API they'll call it as an entity. So terminology will call it as a web service or operation. In Java you will call it as a method. So all are coming for the same purpose. If you see here, a resource can be a singleton or a collection, right? So as maybe you can see the customer. So the resource we can consider as a customer, or a consider can be a single customer or can be a list of customers. For example, in the REST terminology, you want to specify customers is a collection resource and customer is singleton resource. In banking domain, we can identify customers collection resource is the URL. It means your endpoint URL ends with customers, it means it will return you the entire list. It means as the name says, customers is nothing, it's a plural. Plural in the sense it will give you entire list of customers. We identify a single customer resource using the URI identifier. This is the way how we'll specify the customer ID in the REST terminology. Instead of query parameters, even you can specify in the REST terminology, you can specify customer ID. This is called path parameters, not a query parameter. Query parameter will start after question mark, but path parameters will be different. It will be there in the URL. So this is just a placeholder. This is just a placeholder. So the way how the query parameters yesterday I showed you, whatever the parameter name the URL you give, query underscore param name. So here the param underscore your parameter name will be your dynamic process property. So even you can this thing. So if you see something like you open the URL, then you can see here api.example.com device management managed devices. It means it will return all the managed devices. In that managed devices, if you specify the one ID corresponding to that managed device only will be returned. It's a plural, it will return everything. You are specifying to restrict only particular managed device. Here you can see it written users. You are restricting specify user ID. This is called, we'll call it as a path parameter. Okay, so this path parameter, I'll tell you why I'm telling about this one. Most of the times we need to pass this values runtime, right? We cannot fix it in URL. So that's the reason I'm just giving this. Maybe we can get to know these things later. Okay, just remember that this is a path parameter. That's all. Now let's go back to here. So in Boomi, as we told earlier, we can use a web service SOAP client connector. Another thing is HTTP client connector. This HTTP client connector can be used, and one more thing before that, right? Once Boomi exposed a process as a web services, exposed process as a web services, what you can do is you can call by a simple means a plain HTTP or SOAP also. Whenever you have WSDL, you need to go with this one. If you have WSDL, you need to go with this one. If there are the cases, right, that the way how it implements depends on the system. If you are implementing web services in Boomi, you can call on both the methods, because you have web service will be available on as a simple as well as so. But there are the cases that depends on up to them, like whether they want to expose it on HTTP or not. That is basically purely you can see on the binding section. If you open WSDL, right, the WSDL you will see in the binding section. If you don't see WSDL and binding section, get post nothing is there, then your service is not available. Maybe if you open WSDL, right, you will get to know this. WSDL. Okay, here it's something. This one I think we saw already. Hold on a second. So so this is not, this is only accessible via web service, SOAP web service only. Let me see any other. I'll show you the difference. Yeah, showing how to use it in web services. You'll see get something will be there in the. Okay, let's close this. You ideally you are seeing only one binding, right? So one binding for HTTP. You will be seeing different bindings for get, post, something will be there. So if you see that, basically you can say that service can be even accessible via get or post methods. But I don't see any example, any sample file handily available for show. Let's see here. You can see here. Okay, this one is binding. Okay, till that we have only one operation called port type. Only one operation called add. Okay, this is a port type. Inside port type, only one operation add. Entire things is either add request, add response. All these things are something related to schema structure. You see binding name calculator. So one binding. Binding here you can see the this is basically a SOAP HTTP. Okay, so after that, this is the SOAP 1.2 binding. So basically in the SOAP there are two versions, 1.1 and 1.2. So if you just see the one by default, so Boomi supports both 1.1 and 1.2. This is the default one is 1.1. If you don't specify also, you go 1.1. Sorry, 1.1. So somewhere you see that some namespace differences, then nothing will be there. Okay. Then you can see one more thing is called a binding verb post. You can see earlier binding SOAP 1.2. Okay. This is SOAP. So now binding will be post. It means even the service can be accessible via post method, HTTP method as well. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay. So by default, Boomi will expose the service and can be accessible everywhere. So now we'll see the first how we'll to see with the web service WSDL. We'll see that one. So we already know the WSDL URL. So let's go back here. Let's close everything now. Just specifying WSDL client. So for this WSDL clients, let's try to use a web services SOAP client connector. Web service SOAP client connector is when web service SOAP client connector. Okay. The web service SOAP client connector, what we need is connection. So in order to get the connection details, let's go back here. Even we might have opened this. Just go back. Okay. So go back to the connection here. The connection you need to specify here WSDL URL. This is a WSDL URL. Endpoint URL, most of the times it would be the same one except this one. But always you need to look at the endpoint URL in the sense this is the endpoint URL. Wherever you see in the SOAP address, that's your endpoint URL. Most of the times it will be same except WSDL, but there can be that depends on the web services servers implementation. It can be differable also. Even host name, port number also can be changeable here. So security type is because we are not specifying any security here. Non authentication type is none, and username and password also we don't need to specify basically. So this is a one that security shared web server authentication type I may intentionally made it as a none. Okay, so if you may change it none means it won't ask anything. If you change it to basic, it basically you need to enter the username and password. You need to generate all the things. Because if you change this to basic, right, it will ask you to generate. So this is your username, this is a password. Okay, you can even add your username, different username as well. So this will be a password. Something like that. Okay, so now anyway, I'm not going to enable that one. So you can try that. So sun none, nothing is will be there. Okay, that's all you can say. So client connection. Okay, that's all. Save and close. Now click on operation. Okay, so far we have not used the import option most of the time. So now what it will do is we already given the WSDL URL. So you know when we give WSDL URL, what's happening is so Boomi is going to read this WSDL and parse it and only showing us to list of operations. It will just show us list of operations. You can see that. You can see object is not configured. Object in the sense which operation you want to call that. Click on import and always specify the cloud atom or local atom from where your service will be accessible. Okay, in my case, atom is deployed on local atom so that I only my SOAP URL, the endpoint URL will only be accessible from my local machine. So if you say expose request envelope, expose response envelope, I'll show you the difference once it is there. You can see only for request default thing is For request only, envelope is expected. Click on next. It try to connect to an atom. Most of the times in real time you'll get the error here because the connectivity issues, everything will be happening here and you will not able to connect to their web server. So if it is able to connect and your service is running, if it, basically this survey this visual will be only written when your service is up and running. If your service is not up and running, right, you don't see the I don't see this will be written. If this won't written and you are not able to, Boom is not able to parse the whistle. Once Boom is not able to parse, it's not able to show you the list of object types. So here you can see three things are there. So maybe we can just go with one option of this one. Okay, so finish. It means that for this particular request and response profile, it automatically generated by the Boomi. So you can see, if you see explore the structures, right? Only for since we check the checkbox for request only, we only see the envelope in the request, not in the response. You can see envelope structure. This structure would be added on top of your actual request structure. Anyway, we are not expecting any input for the get all customers. It's just showing empty. You can see you don't see the envelope structure, everything. Envelope structure is not there at all. So that's the only thing. That's because we added we checked the checkbox only for request. That's why it's generating. Okay, fine. Now let's go ahead and see the this one. See whether we are able to call the web services. So let's go back to a process reporting over here. Let's run this. Save. Select the atom, local atom. As of now, you can see not there. Refresh it, auto refresh will happen. Okay. Okay. Now it says that. Okay. Now we open so P1. Okay. If you open get all customers, right? At least you are specifying an empty body right here. You are specifying empty body, saying that it don't record anything. But similarly, we need to specify that. As of now, even this will be complete your request. This only happens when you specify a value here. Either you can use something like message save and put this one, or else we need to pass an empty value here. Let's see how empty value will be generated. Since you are not passing any parameters, just no need to pass any value, just click on so that you will get so then sorry, I just passed empty value in order to generate this kind of an empty tag. Now it might have gotten success. Refresh. I think it will refresh every minute something. Okay, you can see this. Get all customers. View process log. You got some request. Okay, you got some response. Let's see the response. What exactly this one is. Okay, now we'll try to second operation using the HTTP client connector. Okay, now HTTP client. This is only get, right? So if you whenever you want to use a get means you cannot pass any body. Means get means you can only send the HTTP GET protocol. You see, right? If you see GET, only you will see the GET, post, put, delete. All these things will be accepted. But the thing is, you will not able to specify any body will not be accepted. But when you send post, now what we want to do is get all customers. Okay, we will see the two options: how we can specify the query parameter, and how we can specify the uh, request body. Okay, now we'll specify one is get, one is send. I'll show you that. Click on plus. So let's go back to this URL. So you always you can do that's one more advantage I'll specify. I'll show you. Go back to here. Yep. So let's go to here. I'm just keeping till this part only. Okay? I'm just cutting this one. I'm just keeping this part only. If your authorization is specified, here you can specify basic and enter username and password here. Okay, so save and close. The advantage of this one is I'll be going to add this in operation level, the rest of the things. Okay, so operation. Okay, so if you want to specify anything, the headers part, maybe I want to accept some only accept in the sense accept in the sense if we are as a Boomi as a client is accept mention means Boomi is only expecting the response only application as JSON. If you specify content type, right? Content type means what is the request server is expecting. This will only talk about it's only talk about the this only talk about the request one. How you want to specify the response? You are going to specify the accept one. So response you cannot tell, you cannot give, right? So once you invoke the services, response they will give you. But there most of the times what happens, right? There is a REST services when implemented, you can specify the response whether you want a JSON or whether you want an XML. This parameter will drive you. You want the JSON XML, you want the XML response. But ultimately, this option should be enabled at their end. Then only this should be working. Okay, now request URL whatever the endpoint URL after this you want to add it, that everything you can add it here. Resource path or request URI will be the same one. Okay, till now if you see here, this is a constant value. Okay, always will be a constant value, so you don't need to add a slash here. First slash will be booming, automatically gets adding. Now you can add it similar to this is just set property values. As when you add it, will be concatenation will be done. CID. Okay, this is one. This value will be always dynamical, right? So I can just specify easy replacement variable. Easy replacement variable means this will this when you select this checkbox, this value is no more a value. This is basically a dynamic document property. It will look for the dynamic document property. If you define any dynamic document property with this property name, it will replace the value here. I'll show you this one once running it. Okay, you can specify the request profile, response profile. Generally, the thing is what you are sending a request, what you are sending a response, you can send it. But ultimately, it's not. If you don't specify it, everything will behave as generic. Whatever response comes, it will handle it. Whatever request comes, it handle it. But ultimately, if you want to specify, you can specify that. But it's not really mandatory to specify that. Okay, what we are doing is instead of adding in the connection, we are adding it in here. I'll tell you once I'm running what's the advantage we are getting here. So since we are specifying the even the same thing, even if you make is replacement variable in headers also, all these things will be we need to replace with the dynamic document properties. Let me replace with the dynamic document properties. Client connector very important. So most of the times you'll be using HTTP client connectors only. So client connector will be used very rare. I'll tell you why they are not going to use that. Now you can use the one branch shape here. That same input data wanted to pass multiple one for passing a query parameter operation. But before that, let's set the set property over here. This set property, it's a dynamic document property of name. This one, this value copied from the HTTP operation. This one, where is you need to specify the value here is we need to specify the profile element because in the response we are already getting the data. The first operation. Specify XML. Go to this. This is the one we are getting it. Okay. So we are passing this one. So always whenever you are setting any parameters for the replacing the request headers or response, so this was path for HTTP client connector, you need to place set properties right just before the connector. Otherwise, it may not work. But if any other level you might have a data process plate or something else, a branch you might have used it before set properties and after HTTP client, in between HTTP connector and set properties, it won't work. Stop. You can just see the response over here. Before the thing is right, so we are getting multiple customers, right? What we can do, let's split the multiple records into say one document into multiple records. Split XML. Let's select the response profile over here. This is a repeatable element in our case. Okay, customer is a repeatable element. So in that case, what happens? Every customer will pass. Each customer will pass. For each customer, we are trying to call. For each customer, trying to execute the get customer by ID. Okay, so this one is will be running query parameters. Another operation will take set property. We'll take the same one. Okay, let's see whether we need to take the same one. First, we'll configure this. Paste. But we are not going to change this one for host name connection will be the same one. Only this thing, right? So only we are going to modify this one. Let's create a new one. Parameter at the post. You can select what kind of an application you're sending. Applications slash XML. Because once you send it here, right? By default, it will once you select this one means it will automatically might have added application slash XML. Okay, XML. And what is the method you're going to send? Send post. Return the get or somewhere I can see. Hold on a second. Okay, let's select the post. And the headers, we no need to pass anything. For resource path, we need to pass this one. As you can remove it, Bhumi can be appending the first class. So that's all. No other things need to map it. What we need to do is return HTTP response follow. Okay, 7 plus. Sorry, this is not supposed to be get. We need to use as a send option. Okay, sorry, send option. And see, you need to check this checkbox. If you don't check this checkbox, you will not get the response. Since we are sending applications class XML content type is for, since we are sending an XML in the request, we are specifying the content type applications class XML. Let's try. I don't think it will work for applications class JSON because we are not Boomi. I think Boomi may not handle that in default one. So resource path, yes, we can copy paste this one what we copied already. That's all. This one will work now. Let's see. Okay, for this, what we need to pass here is okay, post me. We need to pass the body like this, right? So what we'll do, simple thing is we put them in message shape. Then you can use map as well, but since only one element, I just want to use with a placeholder. Okay. Here you can use a profile element, XML. As of now, you can see there is only, you can see after running how many times it will trigger. Because every customer, the call will be taken place. For every customer ID, we are doing twice. If you want to merge anything, you can use something arrange. See, automatically it got arranged. Okay, now let's run this. You can see how many times it triggered. You can see running. This means the symbol is there, it's running. You can see how many times it's running. So many processes might have been triggered now. So now let's see what we done. Let's quickly walk through it. So this is the one. Initially we already run. We are getting the response of get all customers. So there is no problem with that. Okay, and since we are getting multiple customers, we are using a profile parameter, profile element. So since we're using profile element, basically it won't only by, no, by default the first document only it will refer on the document, only first record will be refer, second record onwards will not refer. That's the reason we are using the split document. That split as the every customer, that split as the every customer. Okay, so that's how this thing is there. Now after that we are passing as an HTTP client connector. You can see this. Go to, if it's not available, you go to log here. Get it not available. Okay, let's go to view log. Okay, you can see that sending get request to server. You can see this one only we added in connection, but this everything was added. You can see customer ID is 198. If you download it, it will be more clear. So let's open with Notepad++. Sharing. You can see this is for web service open connector. After that, you can see one document is split into 6 documents. And data process produce 6 documents. Branch is executing 6 documents. Shape executed successfully in 1 second. Then document properties, that means set properties. Set properties also executed say 6 times. So the thing, one thing you need to remember is the customer ID. The what you are setting is a document property, it's not a process property. So that even though 6 documents are parallelly executed, each customer ID value specific to the customer, specific to the document will be remembered. Means if you have a 6 documents will be there, you are setting a customer ID, you have a 6 customer IDs will be preserving the values. When you're passing the first document, you can retrieve the first customer ID value. When you're passing the second document, it will take the second ID based on index. It will automatically handle. I cannot say index something based on some internally handles based on the document by document level. They have some unique identification. So, but if you use the same process property, right, your value will be 5 times will be replaced, and 6 time whatever the last value is, this 6 time you will see the value, because this is not a process properties are not specific to a document. Whenever your last executed process, if you are specifying the set properties with a dynamic process property, it will be a dynamic process property or process property. There is no difference in functionality. Wise, if your document will be gets executed 6 times, your process property got executed 6 times. First time will be executing the first document one. Second time will be overriding with the first one. Third time it's overriding the second one. Fourth time overriding the second one. Something like that. So whatever the 6 document after processing 6 documents, you have the only latest value. Means last document whatever is processed, it is there. So that's why whenever you want to preserve the values specific to the document, you need to use the document properties. So now let's move on. So here you can see this is the value that dynamically concatenating this one. Okay, 198. You can see 188, 1619, something like this. Okay, this is the one part. Now let's move on to the process. So if you see here also, if you see Boomi HTTP client connection, Boomi HTTP client connection, means I have used the same connection for calling different services. I've used same connection for calling different services. That's the main use of the HTTP client connector. If you have an option of calling the web services via HTTP client connector, you can manage to only with one connection will be sufficient per host name. When I say host name, this one is per host name. You can manage to have only one connection, because rest of everything can be handled and can be appended at runtime at operation level. This will save a lot of connections. If you are using same right here, if you might have called the different same operations we are calling by web service, right? We need to use the web service client connections. Here we are, if you call get all customers using HTTP client connector also, one connector might have been sufficient for all 3 operations, because we are not going to specify the complete endpoint URL in the connection. We are specifying the part of the value in the connection. Rest everything will be manipulating from the operation. We are appending it on the operation level. If you see this one percent, you will be able to see this one. So everything is concatenated, but this is not. This is specified in the operation level. So let's review one of the response. Whether we get the response or not. I think it's already getting. I think what we were doing is basically I can say meaningless, because we already get all customers. We might have see something like customer IDs. Then basically we can do that. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that, because already customer details already giving here. Then no point of go and specifically asking the specific customer. You might have only passing the customer IDs, then even we can do something like this also. Only if you see the customer ID something split, and we can do the only customer ID, we can retrieve it and pass no other information. So the based on customer ID can retrieve all other information. So this is how we need to use most of the times. You need to remember why we are setting a property here, how we are reusing it one connection with all the informations. This is a unique difference when compared to the web service client connector. So I think with this information, what we are learned is even you can enable the basic authentication as well. There is no much difference, but you can go through the OAuth 2. Okay, so OAuth 2 is a one more level of security. Auth 2 is a one more level of a security framework for authorization and authentication framework. So if you might have opened anything, right? If you might have opened for anything, it asks you to log in with maybe something, any query. Okay. So digital Quora will be, you will be there Quora, right? Something we have open any, not only Quora, anything you are trying to open it, it will ask you to specify your Google account, right? You log in with Google account. So when you say log in with Google account, basically it will do, if you see URL, it will be what will be there. What am I saying? Maybe anything tutorial point something. Let's go back. Because my ID is already logged in. If you see any open, if you open any website or something, it will ask you to. Maybe if you off something, you just go for any website. Whenever you ask me website, it asks you to log in, right? Maybe Facebook, something like. You can say join now. Somewhere whenever you click, right, you can say already logged in. Log in with, you can see when you click on like this one, right? Let's say you can see create a LinkedIn account with when you click on here, you can see basically the award to basically will do that. Continue as a. It's not showing whenever it asks something like this, right? You can just see that whether it will. You can see the watch to here. Basically, it means you are just getting the login. Somewhere here it's not showing. Open it, so you can just go through the. We are going to show you next thing is Sheets API. It uses a OAuth authentication, or you can go for the Google OAuth 2. First you do OAuth 2 API. What it will do, suppose if I want to post anything on Twitter or something, right, without logging myself, I can just pass my acts but delegate to somebody else. Maybe if I want to share something else, so I'll be entering the consent will become for the user. I'll be entering that one. So after entering the consent, then automatically the job will be one time task will be performed that. So it's automatically logged in this one also. And just can say continue with Google in the sense you can see what this is the one something I'm talking about. It says that sign in that account. And basically what it will do, it's trying to authenticate because if I don't, whether I want to log in or don't want to log in, basically it says that you can authenticate with what to. If I just select this one, right, select this one, then it automatically send a request from the, it says that okay, customer wanted to log in to a quicker using a Gmail account. You then customer will be giving consent. When I say yes, this is the consent basically. You choose account, the consent will be asking next. So you can say how multiple accounts are there. It asking. So generally it asks from account. So since my already account is already logged in, it's automatically taken place, and it will be logging here. Okay. But generally, I did not enter my Google name. I did not created anything for Quora. So Boomi is so Quora is authenticating based on the Google's information. This is basically a delegation process. Instead of entering the actual username and password for the Quora, it's delegating with the Google access to Quora. This is basically OAuth2 framework. It's mostly used for REST APIs. So you can just go through this one, developer.google.com, identity.protocols.OAuth2. They have given very good documentation here. This is a flow actually happens. I will discuss these things. You can just go through this.
Yoma, can you text these URLs if you have something like that?
Let me text it here. In the chat, I'm just sending it here. You can take this now. In the Zoho meeting chat only I sent you. So you just go through it, or anything is fine. But anyway, we are going to use Google one. Google also given. I gone through this and the description. It looks to be very good for me. So you can just go through that. So we'll see the how we can use the GoAuth to using Google Sheet connector. Maybe you can connect one application connector, and then for one of the inbuilt Google Sheet connectors for operations are not available. So we'll see that how we can do that. Basically, we can use a create. You can create a sheet and we can update the data. But if you want to delete any row, we don't have an option for deleting. So I'll go ahead and delete with the HTTP client connector with OAuth2 settings. This information I'll going to specify. So tomorrow also be prepared. It will be a lengthy lesson because we need to set up and we need to call these things. Next.
Okay.
So after that, we can you can ready with your Google account if you. So you need to the way how we did for a mail setup. Similarly, we need to do for Gmail also. We need to do a setup. Then we need to use these values. First thing we need to get the values, generate the tokens, all the things. Then we need to come up with this. You need to use the values here. So I'll show this one. I'll show you these things tomorrow. You can practice till web services one. So tomorrow. Do one thing. I think there is one thing left. Is one more thing is pending. Okay. So maybe let's finish complete web service topic. We'll go with the API. Then we'll.
Tomorrow we can continue, Yoma.
Sorry.
It's a bit. I mean, we can go ahead in the next class.
Yeah. Not next to web services API. So we'll see the API. Then we'll see the Google Sheet connector. Okay, API, we need to go through that. So we'll use the same web service process that we developed it. So there is a different API management will be there. I'll show you all these options tomorrow. It looks to be some changes has been done here, but anyway, fine. I'll go ahead and I'll tell you. After that, we'll go with the Google Sheet connector. You see Google, right? You have a Google Sheet connectors on there. Basically, we'll show you how to set up connection, how to write the data to Google Sheet, how to delete a row, how to query the data. All these things will show you in this one. So this one I'll explain you the API management, how to create all these things. Then we'll use the Google Sheet connector. Then we'll go with the Salesforce connector.
Sure.
Okay. Let me close this. We'll meet tomorrow. I'll share the recording. Thank you.